season. Got to a game. We made it. And now we get to talk about it. Arkansas, Georgia. Final score 37-10. We are live on ESPN Arkansas and ESPN Arkansas 99.5. I'm Phil Elson, joined by Matt Smackdown Jenkins. We'll be taking you up until 10 o'clock tonight. And we will want your reactions via calls or texts all throughout these 2 hours and 12 minutes. So as you're headed home or as you are hanging out at the house and trying to make sense of this Arkansas Razorback first game of the year, and you might be watching some other games going on in the SEC at this very moment, get with us again. That number to get with us is 877-377-6963. Calls and texts here on the Bud Light Reaction Show, in which the Razor. Well, let's talk about the idea of a game being till two halves, right? Boy, the first half is one of the more odd halves of football, maybe, that you have seen in quite a while, as Arkansas takes a 7-5 lead into the halftime locker room. A game that the first half taking 2 hours. And, hey, you got to give credit where credit is due to the Razorback defense, especially in that first half, in which they did make Georgia look a little bit out of sorts. Now, hey, there's some aspects to this. One, Georgia playing a
redshirt freshman quarterback making his first career appearance in college football against a defense that featured a number of newcomers on your defensive line and in your secondary as well. I think Georgia also did a lot of shooting themselves in the foot in that first half.
Yeah, they really did.
The Bulldogs last year only had 2 games where they had 10 or more penalties. They had 11 in the first half alone. Credit is due in a lot of these situations, though, in which Arkansas tackled a lot better in that first half, and really for most of the game tackled a heck of a lot better. I don't know how much pressure they're able to get on Georgia's quarterbacks throughout much of the game. There were some big hits delivered by Jalen Catalon, some things to look forward to there. And offensively, just really couldn't get much going there in that second half.
Yeah, the first half, I mean, that was probably the biggest striking thing that I noticed this whole time was just the lackluster part of the play on offense. I mean, the defense played out of their mind in that first half. I mean, they were causing problems for DeJuan Mathis, and then the backup quarterback came in. Things changed with that. But and I think that it needs to be stated, too, that's a top 5 defense for a reason in the Georgia Bulldogs. There's a reason why they're considered among the nation's best defensively, and they proved that in the latter part of the first half, and they put the hammer down in the second half defensively.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Pretty much Arkansas's offense in the first half limited to the 49-yard pass play by Felipe Franks to Traylon Burks. Could we say that was the best throw made all game long? That was a fabulous play made by Franks. Put it right over Traylon's left shoulder. I mean, right there. Perfectly thrown. And you had to stand there and just be in awe of the idea that the first points of the season for Arkansas were Traylon Burks' first point scored as a Razorback here in his second season.
And that's what you saw the reaction on Twitter. I think you posted something. I just reacted to a bunch of things. In 2 years of Chad, or I guess 2 years of Chad Morris, but 1 year of Traylon Burks could get him in the end zone. It took one drive from the Razorbacks to get Traylon Burks' first touchdown. I mean, what's going on here? But it was a beautiful ball from Felipe Franks. Goodness gracious, that thing was right on the money. And for a second there, I mean, when you watch him throw, and he had some miscues, obviously, and every quarterback will. He had some errant throws that should have been thrown as interceptions. He's got the arm of Ryan Mallett. That kid can fling it, and the flick of a wrist towards the end, I think it was in the middle about the third quarter, he flung it for like 45 yards, just like that. So
a couple of tough decisions.
Though, that he made later in that game that led to some immediate points for Georgia on pick 6. Wondered how long he stuck the ball in Traylon Smith's gut before he pulled it out through that ill-advised pass over the middle that turned out to be the first interception. That slowed things down a little bit for Arkansas, but no doubt, I mean, the talent's there. Seemed much more like a leader quarterback than we had seen before, but also some of those things that kind of reared up while he was at Florida. A couple of decisions here and there that perhaps in Gatorland, they're able to overcome mistakes like that by your quarterback. Here at Arkansas, it's a little bit different. A lot different, to be honest. But hey, this game went the way that I think a lot of people thought it would go. Maybe not to see a baseball score going at halftime, but that this team could hang for a while with Georgia. Maybe even put a little scare into them. Force them to switch quarterbacks. But in that third quarter SmackDown, and really not just the third quarter, but the second half was all Georgia.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking 29 straight points scored by the Bulldogs. And 22 of those points came within about a 6.5 minute radius. I mean, you got your pick six, you got your block punt, the kind of plays that just automatically change the direction of a football game. And that happened twice in a 6-minute period in which the Razorbacks never could recover from that.
Probably the most striking thing that I noticed, too, I mean, we talked about the offense, and you talked about the third quarter just being dominated by Georgia. The field position battle was probably arguably the biggest story of the first half in my mind. Razorbacks couldn't buy any good field position. And granted, part of that was on the offense because they couldn't move the ball very well.
Part of that is on the idea that even in a game where Georgia scores 37, maybe their best player was the punter. For crying out loud, this guy looked like an NFL Pro Bowler the first weekend of college football. This is Jake Camarda, averaging just under 50 yards a punt for 7 punts. You talk about field position, and you're absolutely right about that. We're going to need to go back and look at this at some point pretty soon, I think, and see what the average starting position was for Arkansas and Georgia, because it was pretty heavy towards Georgia.
Absolutely.
How many times was Arkansas pinned back within their own 10, within their own 5, and even once at the 1 yard line?
And even then, you couldn't even get it closer to the goal line where it was, because I think that time was at the 1, there was a false start, and you moved it even closer in there. Field position was key, and it worked out in Georgia's favor multiple times. But there again, credit when you go back to the first half, even then, the defense bailed you out time and time again. Now, part of that was part of the time. Most of that was mostly Georgia miscues. It's all part of it.
But I think Razorback fans are walking away from this game feeling some positivity. Especially those who picked Arkansas to cover for a 27.5 point spread and end up losing by 27. So maybe you feel good about that. I think you feel good about the defensive effort more than anything else. They very rarely, if ever, looked physically overmatched on the defensive side. I think you walk away feeling okay. I don't know if you're going to walk away feeling good, especially the idea that this defense now will go up against an offense that just set the conference record for passing yards by a quarterback, and obviously, with Mississippi State going into LSU and getting a victory the weekend that the season starts on the road in Leach's debut, Arkansas is going to face I think a team that an offense this upcoming week that has, I think, a lot more confidence than that Georgia offense showed. One of the incredible things about this game, SmackDown, all week, if you're talking about Georgia and the questions about Georgia, the two names that came up were Dewan Mathis and JT Daniels. Daniels, I don't even know if he dressed. He never seemed like he was an option to begin with. I think Kirby Smart knew that, though nobody did. Nobody else did. He was pretty coy about this quarterback situation. So Mathis is the guy that starts. No surprise.
No, absolutely.
As he looks a little lost and looks like he's got some of those freshman jitters at times, and Arkansas did a very good job corralling him in and putting him in pressure to where his decision-making was questionable. Nobody talked about Stetson Bennett. Nobody. Without Stetson Bennett going into the game in the second half and finishing, I was going to pull up his numbers here, finishing 20 for 29 with 211 yards, 2 touchdowns, was a very strong, steadying force for a Georgia offense that looked like they were in desperate need of a leader. I mean, there 4 of their 5 offensive linemen that started mostly last year, plus 3-year starting quarterback Jake Fromm gone. That's a lot of talent, sure. That's a lot of leadership and experience and confidence.
Yeah.
That wasn't on the field, and I think that showed certainly in DeJuan Mathis's play. So Stetson Bennett essentially is the MVP today for the Georgia Bulldogs, a junior transfer out of Jones County Junior College who got into 5 games last year of garbage time. And right now, SmackDown, I don't know how he doesn't start next week for Georgia.
He definitely earned it. I mean, I'm pulling up the final stat line for him, but as soon as he came in, you saw the difference, and it was more the kind of the pro-style approach, had the running ability that Benny could bring to the table. And you saw maybe not necessarily in the first couple drives because Arkansas was still able to find ways to get defensive stops, but you saw like that defense calm down. You saw the offense calm down and really starting to get in the move here. I mean, like you just mentioned, 20 of 29 for Stetson Bennett, 211 yards throwing, and a pair of touchdowns. He's earned the right to start next week. And for DeJuan Mathis, 8 of 17 and 55 yards and an interception.
Well, look, and now things start to really get tough for Georgia. I mean, you face an Auburn team next week that just took care of Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, then Kentucky and Florida, and going with a quarterback that probably was your third stringer for right now, and who knows the situation with JT Daniels and that knee.
Yep.
Let's get back to Arkansas here, though. And you get a text out of the 302 area code, which I don't even know where that is. Hogs looked improved on defense. They did. That defensive line looks improved. Xavier Kelly takes up some space. I don't know if we got as much from Julius Coates on the outside as you might have expected.
Well, he did get hurt there in the part of the first quarter, I believe.
Yeah,
first or second quarter.
Looked like he might have been kicked in the lower abdominal region on his way towards the quarterback. I think that's what happened to him. There are some things to build on defensively. Bumper Pool was all over the place. Jalen Catalon looks like somebody that you can build this defense around a little bit.
Bumper Pool had the hit of the game in the first quarter. My Lord, he took care of that boy right at the about third down line. So lots of improvement there. By the way, with the 302 and anybody out there listening to us right now for the Hog Reaction Show, you can text in your reactions. Let us know what you thought of the game. Call or text. It's 877-377-6963 to let us know your reactions.
All right, so we are going to also bring on, and I don't know which one of them is going to join us. We're going to have either Ruskin or Zach in about an hour.
Do we get a choice, or is it your choice or my choice?
They're the ones that get the choice.
Oh, okay.
They are the ones that get the choice, and I guess they had some sort of a watch the game Zoom call with people today. I don't know if they actually did it, so I guess we'll see how that went too.
That 302 text is from Dover, Delaware.
Delaware, the first state. That's right, Razorback fans out there. Matt from Chafee says the defense was the highlight. Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. Defense was the highlight. Offense looked. I would say vanilla, right? But that throw by Franks to Burks was exciting.
It was beautiful. It's something that we've been waiting for 2 years because it seems like you never could get a throw like that down the field in 2 years of Chad Morris.
Felipe's numbers were not great. Arkansas could not rush the ball at all either. Rakeem Boyd was a total non-factor in this game. And I don't know if that's on him or if that's on the idea that Georgia's defensive line is that good.
Well, that, or you could even look at the game plan that you put in place for if you're Georgia. They weren't. You were not going to let Rakeem Boyd run the football, and I think Georgia knew that going into it. Let's see here. Got a lot of texts in here on Facebook. Paul Anthony on our Facebook page said we had a good first half, but Georgia had a miserable first half. Our defense was out there for most of the game, and our offense couldn't find a rhythm with less than par play calling. Still much better than the previous regime, much to build on. Go Hogs. And the play calling, it seems like, and I don't know if I saw this too, I don't know if you did too, when the Hogs are 5 wide, there's a lot of holes for Felipe Franks to throw in. There was a lot of room for him.
It's a tough secondary to go to, be throwing against. It really is.
And I know I texted you right in the middle of the game, and I was pumped up at halftime. I'm not gonna lie, because I don't think anybody out there listening thought that half would have been 7-5 in favor of Arkansas. And I know I texted you. It was incredible. I was shocked, and depth came into play, and I think that's what me and you both agreed on, is just you had to get this offense moving a little bit, and that proved to be the downfall a little bit.
And this defense had to just be sucking wind by the end of this ball game. They were out there for 35 minutes and 46 seconds. And that first half, I mean, look, Georgia did not play well at all in the first half, and they were still down by just 2 points. So, you know, Arkansas might not have taken advantage of the situation that they made for themselves, but also, I mean, you really couldn't get very many sustaining drives in the first half. You did have the 7-play, 91-yard drive that gave you the early lead, but most of the yardage came on the pass play to Traylon Burks. You did get the 11-play, 43-yard drive early in the second half that A.J. Reed kicked his first field goal for the Razorbacks to put you up 10-5. But those were that was the last lengthy drive of the game, and you really never could stay on the field for very long. Plus, a couple of interceptions, one a pick six. The block punt's a killer. Always is, especially back on your half of the field, and the Bulldogs able to turn that into a quick six as well. I mean, that's what good teams do sometimes, SmackDown, just when you think you're hanging with them.
Yeah.
Right hook, uppercut, overhand right, and in 6 minutes you've given up 22 straight points.
That's just how
and
quick
there's
the
not
momentum
much you
can
do
change.
that's what good teams can do. It is 877-377-6963. Phil Elson here, Matt Jenkins. We are live in the Bud Light show, and we'll be taking your calls and texts up until 10 o'clock.
And we got highlights for you guys. We got some reaction from Sam Pittman during his press conference. Got all kinds of good stuff for you here. And I know we talked before we came on, but we'll take you around the SEC. I know we're going to touch on the Mississippi State LSU game with the incredible performance from Mike Leach in his first game out. We've got Tennessee and South Carolina playing right now. Got a lot of action happening here across the SEC, and we're going to touch on all that here on the Hog Reaction postgame show.
Hey, I mean, the other thing, too, and I would imagine people might even just bring this up without being asked. Like, you were watching Razorback football today.
Yes.
You just think about that. Like, you have not watched a Razorback game live of any kind since the middle of March.
Didn't it feel therapeutic?
You did. It felt good. It felt weird. I'll also say that this was the weirdest experience at a college football game that I've ever had.
Yeah, I want to touch on that too, because you were at the game. You were part of the media that was there. I was curious about your thoughts on the game day atmosphere, because we've talked a lot about that on halftime. Everything that was changing with that cardboard cutouts, which I got a bone to pick with Patrick Camerlin. And it's just kind of the whole reaction with that. We got a lot we can touch on.
Piped-in crowd noise. I'll tell you what, though. I mean, for what the attendance was, and I think it was 16,000 or so, they made some noise in the first half. I mean, they made as much noise as they possibly could. It sounded good, and it was supplemented by some of the canned stuff. But it was a different experience. I mean, there was no running through the A. The cheerleaders are not on the field. The band and everybody is socially distanced. They had somebody in every section. There were people sitting in every section, in every luxury suite, but they were all socially distanced, at least 6 feet apart. So if you were at the game, what did you think of the experience today?
Yeah.
Did you find a spot to tailgate somewhere? I'm walking from the media parking lot to go to pick up the press pass, and it's about 4 or 5 blocks. And usually in that situation, there's going to be this incredible festive atmosphere with Hogtown and all kinds of music and people walking all over the place. And it really just felt like we were almost at an outdoor funeral for a moment. It was quiet. There was hardly anybody around, but the atmosphere picked up. And it felt like a college football game. I'll say that. It felt like a college football game. And for most of the game, it also looked like an SEC game, too.
Absolutely.
So I think maybe we can just celebrate for ourselves, for our own sake, that through all this crap you've been putting up with for the last 6 months.
That's a good way to put it.
You made it to football season, and hopefully we'll make it to the end of it healthy and with hopefully the end of a long SEC conference losing streak, which has extended to 20 games now.
It's just a matter of time. I mean, the whole vibe of the team and everything looked like an SEC team. It had that feel about it. And I know there's still a ways to go before you're back up where our expectations are as Razorback fans and where we want this football team to be. But for the first time in 2 years, and maybe you might even go back into the latter part of the Bielema era, that team felt like it had a chance to win. And if a couple different plays go a different way, if your offense is a little bit more better performing and you're able to cash in on some missed opportunities and not turn the ball over, that game may not be a 37-10 game. You might still lose, but that could be a 27-24 or something along those lines. So this team, I genuinely believe this team will win some ball games. If they play with that amount of heart and that kind of physicality and they're able to mask the depth, and Sam Pittman mentioned that in his press conference, kind of making sure that the rotations are a little bit better, a little bit tighter to keep guys fresher, particularly on the defensive line and on the defensive front seven. If you're able to kind of get all this back together, and they even mentioned this during the game, none of these guys have really – you had 6 weeks to really prepare for the 6 or 7 weeks, 3 scrimmages. You didn't have spring ball. You didn't have summer ball or anything like that. So miscues are bound to happen. The better team won. I think we're all in agreement of that. But this team will win games. And this team will probably be, I hope, a lot tighter, the mistakes should hopefully be down, and it'll be a better football team come Mississippi State.
Well, we'll see. We will see in 7 days. But we're reacting right now to Arkansas falling to the Georgia Bulldogs, 37-10. We've got full game stats. We've got sound from Sam Pittman, highlights from the Learfield IMG broadcast, and your calls and text all up till 10 o'clock. The number to get with us is 877-377-6963. It's Razorback Reaction, and we're back after this break.
This is Hog Football Reaction, streaming live now from hitthatline.com.
Randall Ford is excited to announce their state-of-the-art mobile service van, stocked with all the latest tools and technology needed to service your vehicle. Everything from oil changes, warranty repair, battery, software updates, brake jobs, and so much more. All is done with your convenience and safety in mind. We'll come to your office or home to provide professional service the Randall Ford way. Stop by today at Randall Ford, 5500 Rogers Avenue, or check us out online 24/7. RandallFord.com. Ford, the #1 selling brand in America.
We saved serious cash with our Progressive Home and Auto Bundle and used the money to buy a new boat.
Who's ready to water ski? This is not a real testimonial. Sure, customers can save big money with Progressive, but not enough for a new boat. They'll probably spend it on rent or gas money or maybe one of those little plastic wading pools for the yard.
Ahoy there!
Is what the captain might say on the toy boat in your wading pool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
It's the final weekend of the month at Harry Robinson's Salisal Ford, 1 mile south of exit 308 off I-40 in Salisal. You got Troy and Jeremy with me, guys. Y'all are under the gun to get these cars gone. On the front line, you got 10 manager specials. Jeremy, these got to go before the end of the month.
Absolutely, Tommy. We got Harry breathing down our neck, and he says these cars have got to go. So we're making great deals. Our loss is your gain. Come down and see us and let us make you a great deal.
And with the banks being real aggressive right now, Troy, you got low rates to offer customers.
Hey, we definitely do. You know, my job as the finance manager is mainly following these rates and everything. And the rates are as low as they have ever been. And some of these banks, they're offering no payment for 90 days too. So you're talking about no payment till December. I mean, come down here, guys. Take advantage of the deals we have going on. Great interest rates, no payment for 90 days. And hey, like Jeremy said, our loss is your gain.
All right, there's 10 great manager specials right on the front row when you arrive at Harry Robinson's Salisal Ford, 1 mile south of exit 308 off I-40 in Salisal.
Metal Mart offers high-quality prefabricated metal buildings, metal roofing, custom trim shop, carports, and more. They strive to be a company where contractors as well as do-it-yourselfers are welcome. Metal Mart assists you in calculating the materials needed to complete your project, all at a rate you can afford. Stop by 7320 Highway 271 South in Fort Smith or call 648-3342. You can also catch them online at metalmarts.com. Metal Mart, the right material for the right price.
Winter is just around the corner. At AOG, we realize some customers are facing new challenges because of the pandemic. We're here to help. Our customer service team can offer you a wide array of payment options or direct you to utility payment assistance agencies in your area for help. Please call us at 1-800-842-5690 or visit AOGC.com. Thank you for being a valued AOG customer. We're all in this together.
Hi, this is Lindsay White with White Office Machines. For over 90 years, my family's been serving the greater Fort Smith region with the image industry's newest technologies, as well as providing superior customer service through long-term business relationships. As the area's only authorized Kyocera document solutions dealer, White Office Machines provides the best value with high-speed copiers and the latest multifunction printers. Stop by our office in downtown Fort Smith or in Russellville. Follow us on Facebook or go to whiteoffice.com.
White Office Machines since 1929.
Looking to upgrade your fleet or needing professional service to your existing fleet? Carco International of Fort Smith offers the latest trucks and equipment in the industry. With over 70 years in the trucking and equipment business, they have the experience to keep you on the road. Carco International offers professional service after the sale. Carco International Parts Department supplies all makes, parts, and gives expert service. Carco International is the answer. Leave it to the pros to keep you on the road. Carco International, located at 2721 Midland Boulevard in Fort Smith.
Come on into Buffalo Wild Wings and try our new fan favorites, featuring our new cauliflower wings paired with our mouth-watering Zing Zang sauce. While you're here, reward yourself with Buffalo Wild Wings' new daily trivia while enjoying our fan favorite smoked brisket burger or southern chicken sandwich. Let your taste buds win and come on in to Buffalo Wild Wings, the best and only place to watch college football and the NFL. Celebrate your fantasy team winning on our wall-to-wall TVs. Locations in Little Rock, Fort Smith, Sherwood, Jonesboro, and Conway. Buffalo Wild Wings. Roar!
The best TV experience in the nation is available locally with personal service from Wild World of Wireless, your neighborhood professional, Dish-authorized retailer. Dish has the Hopper 3, the most advanced DVR, and delivers a premium viewing experience. Tired of running out of DVR space? With the Hopper 3, you can record up to 2,000 hours of your favorite programming and watch your very own favorite channels and DVR recordings anywhere you go on your phone or tablet. Call now, Wild World of Wireless at 877-305-DISH for more details, or stop by our location at the corner of Phoenix and Rogers, or visit us online at shopwildnow.com.
Monthly equipment fees and other restrictions apply. Recording hours vary. 2,000 hours based on SD programming. Remote viewing requires internet connection and compatible mobile device.
ESPN 95.3. You're listening to Hog Reaction. Our special Razorback postgame coverage is presented by Bud Light.
Phil Elson here with Matt Jenkins on ESPN Arkansas, ESPN Northwest Arkansas, taking you up until 10 o'clock. 877-377-6963. We are taking your reactions, all calls and texts. And open lines right now. Texts are firing in. Troy thinks that Arkansas did way better than expected, and Sam Pittman has sold him for now. That's 1 week at least you're sold. We'll see what happens Saturday. Henley in Dallas, Texas says Arkansas looked better than last year, but Mississippi State went crazy with the air raid. They certainly did.
Yeah.
Passing game is what opened up the run game for Georgia. So if you can't stop the passing game, next week is going to be rough. That's right. I mean, once Stetson Bennett started throwing accurately, started showing poise in the pocket, and boy, that pocket did hold quite a while today for
really
Georgia.
Did. Adam Jones on our
that
Facebook
did open things up for him.
Adam Jones on our Facebook page said, played the first half with a spark that the Razorbacks haven't had in years. This team knows that they can compete in the SEC, and that's going to go a long way in the future. The defense took a major step forward for what they did. Even though we didn't win, I'm happy with Sam Pittman's first game.
Max effort out of the 501. Chris tells us the defense looked much better considering field position. Organized, no quit in this team. Love the tempo on offense, much, much better than the last couple of years. Organized. Did seem a little more organized, although there were some head scratchers. You know, your double reverse, your double flea flicker in the back of the end zone certainly cost you a couple of points, and who knows what could have happened on that drive. But that was a head scratcher. Kind of fell right out of TJ's hands. But to play like that right in your end zone is one that I guess if you catch them off guard, then hey, maybe you can go the distance of the field. But if you don't catch them off guard, you're putting yourself in a pretty tight position, and ended up costing Arkansas 2 pretty important points.
Yeah, I was talking to my friend Reagan during the game, and we were discussing the game, and she was all pumped up for it. But then it was like right around that time when they tried to run the double reverse, and it was like you described it perfectly. It was head scratching. It was kind of curious of why you would do that, and then the lateral into the pass. I don't remember who threw the pass, but the intercept at the 50-yard line.
Burks. I kind of
yeah.
wondered if they eventually were going to try to let Burks throw the ball, because I know he's got huge hands. He was a good baseball player, so I assume he had a pretty strong throwing arm. And he's somebody that's going to get the football in a number of different ways. That was one of them I thought might happen, but he forced the throw. It wasn't there. He didn't need to throw it.
Yeah.
Just throw it out of bounds at that point. But, there's those two plays. The block punt, special teams is supposed to be a step up for Arkansas this year. The block punt certainly is not a good sign.
Yeah.
And you had a delay of game on a field goal attempt. So, organized is one way to describe some things that we saw. I think there were some other moments where, if disorganized is the right term, but also just some head-scratching stuff, and maybe that's just football.
It may be football, but how much can we also pin that to just early season jitters, coronavirus, kind of putting a hamper on practice and only had 6 weeks to play? I agree. I don't see any reason why we should have done the reverse and all the really tricky, cool-looking plays. There's a lot of mistakes on both sides. Georgia made a lot of mistakes in the first half. Arkansas did too, and resulted in a few points being taken off the board. You possibly had the field goal in all the different areas, but I'm just curious how much of that could we throw towards being the first game of the year and everything that this offseason has been like.
Matt says the hard part's knowing when to get your hopes up. And he's right. How couldn't you have your hopes up when you're in the first half and you feel like you didn't control the game. Georgia still was out there for almost a 2-1 margin on time of possession in that first half. But you were hanging with them. Georgia had to be sweating a little bit. Heck, they switched quarterbacks at halftime. It's about as big of an adjustment as you can make for a football team. So how couldn't you get your hopes up? But you also there had to be in the back of your mind, even those of you who publicly predicted an Arkansas upset win, you had to at least think in the back of your mind that you could end up watching a reality show in the second half that was called Georgia is Just Better.
It came down to that. That's what all it came down to. And if you've seen, excuse me, a lot of people on social media is just like it's typical Razorbacks in the second half. I don't think it was necessarily that. The defense still made a few plays in the second half, but it was few and far between compared to the first half. But that's just credit to that's the fourth-ranked team in the country. They're the fourth-ranked team for a reason. That's a top-5 defense for a reason. That defensive line looked like they could play in the NFL right now. That's the way it is.
So, here's the thing, and I know you don't want to say the phrase hog's going to hog. There are other people that are going to put that on social media, but here's when it happened. Yeah. And it happened, boom, boom, boom. You get a 10-5 lead on A.J. Reed's field goal early in the third quarter. That's with 8 minutes, 23 seconds left. So you're up by 5, feeling good. Georgia marches down the field, 57 yards in 6 plays, the 19-yard pass to Pickens. That's when the pass game starts to open up for the Bulldogs, score in the 2-point conversion, take their first lead. Then Arkansas can't get out of the shadow of their own end zone, punt block. Next thing you know, 4 plays, 24 yards, Georgia up 20-10. Hogs get it back, boom, 31-yard interception return, 27-10. And then in a 13-play, 81-yard drive by Georgia early in the fourth, and it's 22 straight points, man, in about a 6 to 8 minute stretch.
Yeah,
that's when you thought to yourself, I should not allow myself to get those hopes up. But how couldn't you have your hopes up when you're up 10-5 early in the second half?
Got a lot of texts in here, and keep them coming in. It's 877-377-6963. Troy in the 479, he says, my wife continually told me to remember you that they think that you're going to get surprised in the second half if they lose. I'm not surprised at the outcome, but it kind of you wish the momentum would have carried over in the second half for the Razorbacks.
I just don't know how much momentum they had to begin with. Georgia to get that final.
I just wonder
that field goal at the end of the half. As the gun sounds.
Yeah, and I don't want to put a damper on the conversation defensively because the defense played fantastic football, but DeJuan Mathis didn't look good at all. At all,
he didn't, and
I just wonder is that credit to the Razorback defense or is that just playing an inept quarterback?
There's probably two reasons for him. I think it's the play. I think it's it looked like Barry Odom's crossing some things up with certain designs of how to attack the line of scrimmage. I think that might have confused him a bit. And he's a kid who was making his first career start as a college quarterback. He had to have at least some nerves. So I think a lot of those factors go into it. Number here is 377-6963. Haley says the offensive line still needs work. True. Didn't look much improved. D-line looked pretty improved. Agreed. D-line looks like there's an improvement. Jonathan Marshall takes up some space. So does Xavier Kelly. Dorian Gerald, I don't know how much you got out of Dorian today. The linebackers really played well. Grant Morgan was everywhere. So was Bumper Poole. I think your linebackers, you never felt like they were overmatched. Jalen Catalon looked like he played well. So, yeah, there are things to build on defensively here.
Grant Morgan finished with 13 tackles to 9. 4 unassisted and 9 assisted tackles. Bumper Poole finished with 11 tackles. And like you said, linebackers played well. Your 2 starters did what they supposed to do, and they took care of business and combined for 24 tackles.
Let's look at some of the numbers here from the box score, and then we'll read some more text, get some calls in. We've got Sam Pittman sound from the Zoom presser, and scores to update you on across the SEC. And top 25, it's Georgia winning 37-10 over the Razorbacks today. And the Bulldogs today gained 266 yards in the air, 121 yards on the ground. Razorbacks 203 yards in the air, 77 yards on the ground. Possession time, 35 minutes, 46 seconds for UGA. Hogs had it for just 24 minutes and 14 seconds. Georgia, I think in the first half, were 1 for 12 on third down, finished 6 of 20. 20 third down attempts for Georgia and 3 fourth down attempts, including a couple of conversions. Bulldogs got into the red zone 4 times and scored 3 times. Arkansas only got into the red zone once and got that field goal by A.J. Reed. The penalties killing Georgia in the first half. 11 penalties, only had 1 in the second half. You think Kirby Smart had a interesting halftime conversation with his team about discipline, about not jumping a little early offensively, which seemed to plague them quite a bit? Definitely. When you go from 11 penalties in the first half to 1 penalty in the second half, I think the coach had something to say / scream at you. We do have a call coming up here. It is 877-377-6963 as we react to Arkansas's 37-10 loss to the Georgia Bulldogs. This is Robert in El Paso, I think. How you doing, Robert? What's up?
37-10 loss to the Georgia Bulldogs.
Hello?
This is Robert in El Paso.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to turn the radio down. You're to turn the radio down and you up. Oh, hey, hi, Papa Smackdown. What'd you think of the game today?
We loved it.
Loved it.
You loved it? You still love the 27-point loss? What did you love about the game? I think there are things to love.
I loved the first half. It was great.
Defense, right? That's what you loved about the first half. Or was it just the idea that you were at least within 2 points of a potential national contender?
Yes, sir. We love the defense.
I know, Phil. I was talking to Dad right before halftime, and defense is the very first thing that came out of both of our mouths in the first half when we were talking about it. And you saw how well the defense was performing. And like we just mentioned, is the defense that much improved for Arkansas, or is that an inept quarterback at Georgia? I'm curious too. But Dad, that defense looked much, much improved from what it was last year. And I don't know if you'll agree with me. That's probably a lot of credit to Barry Odom too.
That's a whole lot of Barry Odom. I take a lot of that for coaching.
Man, I mean, they're going to have their work cut out for them next week. I don't know enough about Mississippi State's offense right now, but we'll have plenty of research to be doing on them early here in the upcoming week. But if you're about to face a team, this defense is going to be tested in a different way by Mississippi State than they were by Georgia. And it looked like Georgia at some point just wanted to line up and try to run right over Arkansas. That's not what Mississippi State's going to try to do. I don't even think they have a car to drive. They're all about flying in the air. I mean, over 600 yards passing. You're going to get tested up in the trenches by Georgia. You're going to get tested in the trenches by Alabama, by LSU. You're going to be that secondary is going to be tested in ways that no other team in the SEC will try to test them on Saturday, facing the air raid of Mike Leach.
Mom, Dad, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it, and I love you guys.
All right. Hopefully we'll hear from them sometime this week. 877-377-6963 to react to Arkansas's loss here. And, I know, but I think people want to feel good. I think you want to feel good right now about this first game. It's still lost. It's still lost by 27 points. Still looked, hey, you want to look on the bright side of things? You scored a touchdown on your second drive of the season. You got a 49-yard pass play to Traylon Burks and really did look like Kendall Briles is doing everything he possibly can to get Traylon involved in the offense in ways that he wasn't involved in the offense last year. But this team is not going to win very many games if Rakeem Boyd is averaging 2 yards per carry. Not like this is going to be a team, Matt, that just hands to Rakeem and say, go win a game for us. But averaging 2 yards a carry for your best runner.
Absolutely.
That's not going to cut it.
Well,
Traylon Smith, good debut for Arkansas, but he's not the feature back. Rakeem is. He's got to have more room to operate and gain more than 22 yards in a game.
Yeah, and I think for what we didn't know about what this offense would look like, you had your ideas of Felipe Franks throwing the football, and I think everybody in the SEC and nationwide knows that ball's going to be in Rakeem Boyd's hand, and Georgia had a great game plan, and Rakeem Boyd finished with 11 carries for 21 yards. His longest rush was 5 yards. That's it. And that's good game planning, and that's just Georgia. And as a combined team, you combine for 77 yards rushing. Georgia rushed for 121. Zamir White ran for 71 yards, and they ran for 121. So they definitely had the game plan in place to limit Rakeem Boyd, limit his impact in the game. Because if Rakeem's able to rush the football, if he's able to get 50 yards, I would argue, I think the offense will be a lot more opened up as far as not so many guys at the line of scrimmage and blitzing all the time to stop Rakeem Boyd, and therefore giving pressure to Felipe Franks.
That defense just has to be so tired right now. They were on the field for 89 plays and almost 36 minutes. And I think, yes, for those that keep texting in, defense deserves some due. Defense deserves some due. I don't think Georgia last year was held to 121 yards rushing all that often. This is one of the best rushing offenses in the country year after year after year. And Arkansas held them to 121 yards on 42 carries. So they tried to run the ball against Arkansas on average less than 3 yards per carry.
Yeah.
So, yes, maybe that right there is something to build upon. But your rushing defense isn't going to matter this next week against the pass attack of Mississippi State. So we're having a whole different conversation next week. I guess we'll see what happens when you're playing against Alabama and Ole Miss and teams that might try to run the ball a little bit more.
And we'll recap those scores like Phil said with Mississippi State, LSU. Mississippi State pulling off a 44-34 victory over LSU. We'll talk about that and everything else happening across the SEC, including a very wild and crazy end of the first half with Auburn and Kentucky. And a wild and crazy game out there. We got Tennessee and South Carolina playing right now. Alabama and Missouri's all playing right now. We'll recap all of those for you here on the Hog Reaction postgame show.
All right, I did promise Sam Pittman sound. So
where do you want to start?
You take it away, SmackDown. You're at the controls there. We got 4 pieces from the Zoom press conference from Sam Pittman. And let's see what he had to say.
Well, we'll get right over here. We talked a lot about the defense, the defensive line play. Here's Sam Pittman discussing the defensive line effort this afternoon against Georgia.
I thought our defensive line moved really well in the first half, and it may have been, I have to watch the tape. It may have been the entire game. I don't know, but we have it's about 7 guys that we feel like we can play in there. Obviously, the ones are one for a reason, but I think we tired down. We've got to be able to get into a little more often rotation so we can keep fresh guys on the field. Georgia's offensive line averaged about 325, 330 across there, and I feel like they laid on us and wore us down a little bit.
And that was Sam Pittman discussing his defensive line play, Phil.
I think he's right. I think they did get worn down. How couldn't you have gotten worn down in that second half? How couldn't you? But the defense did make some plays. They did make some plays. How about Jalen Catalon stripping the ball away and Miles Slusher diving on top of it? Jalen Catalon's a playmaker. I think this is somebody that's going to really make his presence felt this season. 877-377-6963 as we react to Arkansas's 37-10 loss to the Georgia Bulldogs. All right, we'll have more sound from Sam Pittman, stats and updates from around the SEC in the top 25, and your calls and texts as Hog Reaction comes back after this quick break.
At Chuck Fawcett Realty, service matters. That's why Chuck Fawcett Realty has 4 convenient office locations with 2 in Fort Smith, 1 in Van Buren, and 1 in Greenwood to serve you better. At Chuck Fawcett Realty, their highly trained professional agents matter because when your family is making that big decision on where to live, they can help you find that just right new home in a price range that you can afford. If you're looking for that special home, see Chuck Fawcett Realty at any of their 4 area locations or online at chuckfawcettrealty.com. That's Chuck Fawcett Realty.
Whitson Morgan Motor Company, your 2020 Dealer Rater Dealer of the Year, has 4 great locations in the River Valley, giving you a huge selection of new and pre-owned vehicles. Choose from Ford, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Chevrolet vehicles right now at Whitson Morgan Motor Company. See their reviews and compare with others. That many people can't be wrong. Visit Whitson Morgan in Clarksville, Ozark, and Russellville, or log on at whitsonmorgan.com for selections and great deals to serve you today.
In September at Frank Road Furniture, everything is on sale. Why order when you can have it today? We carry refrigerators, French doors, GE washers and dryers, 100% made in the USA Speed Queen Laundry, gas coil top and smooth top ranges, dishwashers, mattresses, recliners, big man recliners, lift chairs, sofa and loves, reclining sofa and loves, beds, chests, dressers, mirrors, nightstands, headboards, and tables and chairs. Your one-stop store for all your furniture and appliances. Frank Road Furniture, 405 4th Street in Barling, Arkansas.
Hey, this is Ted with Ed Walker's Drive-In. For more than 70 years, Ed Walker's has been the place to go for the best French dips and hand-patted hamburgers in town. Blue Plate Specials served Monday through Friday, and we're still the home of Fort Smith's only 5-pound hamburger. We're open 10 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week. Call ahead for pickup, 783-3352. Ed Walker's Drive-In, 1500 Towson Avenue in Fort Smith, where the legend lives on.
Do you have sleep apnea? Are you tired of dealing with a CPAP every night? The noise, the constant cleaning. Your wife telling you she can't take the noise anymore. Dr. Bo Sparkman at Family Dental Care of Fort Smith can help you with sleep apnea with a custom dental appliance that allows you to get rid of that annoying CPAP. Dr. Sparkman has years of experience and has treated hundreds of patients just like you. Call for your appointment today, 785-1419. That's 785-1419. Get rid of your CPAP with Family Dental Care of Fort Smith. The biggest selection, the best prices, and more for your trade at Harry Robinson's Salisol Ford. Up to $12,000 off on 2020 Ford F-150s. And there's 40 to choose from. 2020 Ford Fusion, $1,000 rebate plus 0% for 72 months. And 2020 Ford Escape, $4,500 off or 0 for 60 months. The biggest selection, the best prices, and more for your trade. Harry Robinson's Salisol Ford, 1 mile south of exit 308 off I-40 in Salisol.
Winter is just around the corner. At AOG, we realize some customers are facing new challenges because of the pandemic. We're here to help. Our customer service team can offer you a wide array of payment options or direct you to utility payment assistance agencies in your area for help. Please call us at 1-800-842-5690 or visit AOGC.com. Thank you for being a valued AOG customer. We're all in this together.
When you want a beer, you go to a bar. When you want top shelf spirits, wines, handcrafted cocktails, and cigars in an atmosphere befitting a destination, you go to 906 Cocktail and Cigar Lounge. Try our new menu items, including fish and chips, classic club sandwiches, Caesar and Cobb salads, or stick to your favorites. Dine in or carry out. Enjoy our state-of-the-art air filtration system. 906 Cocktail and Cigar Lounge, defining nightlife in downtown Fort Smith. Doors open at 4 Tuesday through Saturday.
Radio station.
KERX, Paris, Fort Smith, from the Bushlight Studios. This is ESPN 95.3. You're listening to Hog Reaction. Our special Razorback postgame coverage is presented by Bud Light.
I'm Phil Elson, Matt Jenkins. We are on Hog Reaction, 877-377-6963, as we react to 37-10, Georgia over Arkansas. And Hogs just can't find a way to beat this program. They have now fallen to Georgia 8 times in the last 9 meetings and are 4-11 all time against UGA. I don't know the next time these teams will be meeting. So let's see, what can we get to here? We got more sound from Sam Pittman. We got updates around the rest of the league and other top 25 teams that are in action as of right now. Matt, go ahead. We got more sound from Coach Pitt.
We do. I think one thing we really hadn't discussed a little bit, we'll bring this up now, the special teams for Arkansas seem to be really kind of eye-opening a little bit, especially with Scott Fountain and kind of the confidence that we have with Scott Fountain. Still the same special teams problems. Here's Sam Pittman discussing the special team performance against Georgia this afternoon.
No, we didn't play well. You know, going into the game, I felt like we could hold our own and possibly win that battle, but they had so many yak yards, so many, on kickoff, on punt. They blocked a punt. Just so many big plays. You know, you'd think we'd get the field flipped and they would get it back out to the 45 and 50 on us, you know. And again, we played in a hole the entire first half. And so I elected to take the win in the third quarter, and it seemed to work out early because we had a good drive going back down there, because I was concerned about kicking off and not getting the ball in the end zone. And then we kicked off and the ball was 3 foot off the air and a guy returned it for 45, 50 yards. So we've got to do a better job, all of us, myself including, coaching that, and we've got to do a better job of executing. Coach Fountain had a great game plan going into it. We just got to coach better, and we've got to execute better.
Execution, a huge portion of this. Now, I have found this, the average starting field position for Arkansas on 16 drives today, average starting position was their own 19-yard line.
Wow.
Georgia's average starting position was their own 45.
That sounds right. I mean, yeah.
That's a 26-yard difference. And that's a huge difference. The special teams a giant part of this.
Well,
this is one of the reasons why you look at the idea of their punter actually being potentially their MVP outside of the third string quarterback Stetson Bennett. This Jake Camarda averaged 50 yards a punt, and even after he drops a punt at the 1 yard line but has it called back because of a procedure penalty, he drops the next punt at the 3 yard line. Like, this guy's already ready for the Pro Bowl.
Absolutely.
7 punts. An average of 49. And I'll say George Caratan looks like a pretty good punter for Arkansas. A 48-yard average on 6. You could see Sam was trying both of the punters along with Sam Loy. But Arkansas never got the return game going on these punts. I think they only returned 1 punt for the entire game, if any. And Georgia was able to average, let's see here. I mean, they averaged 19 yards on 3 punt returns, and had 2 kickoffs returned for one for 47 and one for 48. Those are giant plays. Plus, you know, the one of your interceptions in the shadow of your own end zone. So yes, starting field position, Matt, is one thing that stood out over the past 2 years that unfortunately came out again today.
Reared its ugly head again today, and I wonder how much of that came into play calling, because when you're pinned back that far, granted with this high-speed offense and passing the ball and getting out 5 wide, you can't hardly do that when you're pinned inside your 15-yard line most of the time, or the average of a 14-yard line when you're the Razorbacks. You have to run the football at that point when you're pinned inside your 5, and several times in occasions, I mean, they were not letting you run the football. Felipe Franks had a few open spots, but then it would get called back for holding and different things like that. The field position definitely limited the offense.
Look, here's where the Arkansas drives started. From their own 25, from their 9, from their 10, from their 7, from their 5, from their 1. There's 3 drives in a row starting within the 10-yard line. From their 20, the 24, the 21. Best starting field position was their 49 and ended up with a field goal. That's where you went 11 plays for 43 yards and took the 10-5 lead. And Georgia's starting position, their own 34, their own 25, the 50, the Razorback 15 on the interception, their own 44, the Razorback 45. You could just see this is in the first half. This is when Arkansas was hanging with Georgia.
Absolutely.
Starting field position pretty large in this ball game.
Very huge in this ball game. And when you look at the final stat lines, since we're going over the stats and everything that goes into it, Arkansas was 6 of 20 on third down conversions. Georgia was 6 of 20. Arkansas was 3 of 14. At one point, I think you had Georgia at 1 of 12. I think at one point in that ball game.
That's right. That's right.
And you were making Georgia pay for their getting them converted out 3 and out, getting the offense back on the field. But every time you got them converted out, Georgia had the ball inside your own territory, particularly on the north side of the 50, and you're getting pinned back into the 5-yard line, and there's not much you can do about it to try to flip the field.
All right, what else do we have from Sam Pittman here? I know we've got a couple more clips we can play.
Let's we'll go here. Here's Sam Pittman discussing Felipe Frank's first game as a Razorback inside Razorback Stadium.
He has to be more conscious with football. I mean, he's got to take care of the football. We were right in the game, and we threw a pick six, and part of that was the receivers ran into each other. I thought we were very sloppy with formations, alignments on offense, and we've got to get that fixed. But Felipe has to take care of the football, and I thought he played hard in those things, but we got to help him a little bit more as well.
There was a lot of movement in the backfield on a lot of the drives. Looks like that's one aspect of Kendall Briles' offense. And Sam does mention sloppy on alignments. You could see a number of times where there was somebody out of position in the backfield. And I even remember one moment Rakeem Boyd had to remind Franks that the tight end was at the wrong side of the formation. He had to move him over to the right. So, there was some of that sloppiness in formations. And isn't that supposed to be on the quarterback? There was, it's on him to make sure everybody's aligned properly, and certainly that it's also going to go on the offensive coordinator. So there's 2 areas to build on, right? Felipe Franks taking better care of the football, especially in your own territory, and this team's going to have to be a lot better on special teams, on coverage, and I don't really know if you could have done anything about the way Georgia's punter punted,
Yeah.
But you're going to have to block better. This isn't a team that's going to win very many games if you allow a block punt within your own 20-yard line.
Well, I wonder, too, because I mentioned this to you as well. We were texting about in the halftime and into the third quarter. I would argue that this will be, from top to bottom, the best team Arkansas will face on their schedule. You mentioned Florida. I said until Alabama. Now, I'm not saying that none of this schedule is the toughest in the nation, in the history. I get it. But you're going to have opportunities to score against other teams. That team, top to bottom, defensively, offensively was a little inept. That's fine. But defensively, that'll play the best defense you face until Alabama, in my opinion. You mentioned the Florida Gators. I believe, was it 31 they allowed from Ole Miss today in their victory? You're going to have opportunities to move the ball a little bit easier moving forward this season.
You did have some amazing days put up by some quarterbacks in the SEC today.
Oh, my God.
Kyle Trask. Now, this is one reason why I think maybe you're going to put Florida ahead of Georgia now. This Florida offense looks like the real thing. Trask throws for 6 touchdowns, 416 yards, and he doesn't even have the best day of a quarterback in the league, which is KJ Costello of Mississippi State. No, by the way, Arkansas is facing both of those quarterbacks this year.
Yay!
Including Costello next week. Costello set a record in the conference. Just let this sink in for a minute.
In the
conference? First game he ever played in the SEC, he set a record with 623 passing yards in a regulation game, and beat the defending national champions. Albeit, I know LSU did not have Derek Stingley. He's out with an illness that's not COVID related, but still, you're going up against 2 of the best offenses in the SEC. And Georgia might not be one of those best offenses. They certainly are one of the best defenses in this league and in the country. I don't know if the offense is up to the level of their defense. And I kind of wonder if you could say the same thing about Arkansas. I'm not quite sure if the offense will be up to the level of the defense for a good chunk of this season. Now, you faced a team where their strength is defense. I think Arkansas. I think a lot of teams will have struggles against Georgia putting up points.
Absolutely.
On a consistent basis, being able to stay on the field. Razorbacks I had this marked down here. I mean, they ended up with 8 3-and-outs. 8 3-and-outs on 16 drives. That's half your drives. You went 3-and-out. That's sure. I mean, that's on Georgia's defense. That's why. 877-377-6963. We will take you up to 10 o'clock. Derek Ruskin joining us in about 13 minutes. Do we need to step aside for a break here, Matt?
No, I think we're good. We're good.
We're all right for right now?
You brought up Mississippi State a second ago, talk about the passing game. I just wanted to point this out. I forgot who texted this in. I apologize for not mentioning your name. Mississippi State threw for 623 yards. You know how many yards rushing they had against LSU? 9.
5?
9 yards rushing.
I was pretty close.
Now, granted, I will say Hill had 34 yards. Marks had 15. KJ Costello had negative 38 yards.
Well, I mean, look, this is why Kylan Hill returned, because he's basically auditioning for the NFL by catching the ball out of the backfield now. I mean, this is a guy who led the league in rushing attempts. Remember my prediction? He led the league in rushing attempts. He might actually finish as the league leader in receptions. And he led Mississippi State with 8 receptions today. So, I mean, you're facing a totally different offense next week. What you saw from Arkansas defensively this week, that strength up front, the defensive line looking good, at least against the rush, they're going to need to generate a pass rush next week. Like you are not going to allow KJ Costello to sit in that pocket the way that Stetson Bennett did for a good chunk of the game and just make plays and pick receivers down the field. You're going to end up allowing 70 points in that case.
Give you some quick score updates here before we hit the break here in about 5 minutes or so. Alabama leading Missouri right now 35-6. That is in the fourth quarter, 12:08. That game is on ESPN if you're curious about that. And the only other 2 games that got active, another tight one in College Station, Phil. Texas A&M, number 10 ranked team in the country, beating Vanderbilt 14-5. 3:25 to go in the third quarter of play. And the other game that is still active right now, a tight one. It's going to be one to keep an eye on because Tennessee will beat one of those games, Phil, that we think Arkansas could get a victory out of. Tennessee leading South Carolina 21-20. Less than 5 minutes to go in the third quarter.
Hey, maybe they can get Texas A&M. A&M must not be blowing the doors off anybody with a 14-5 lead against Vanderbilt. Kellen Mond not having the best day. Who knows much about that Vanderbilt defense, but A&M right now not really firing on all cylinders.
Got lots of good text messages in here, and if you want to get in on the conversation, give us a call, shoot us a text. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all our social media channels, at Hit That Line AR on Twitter, at Hit That Line on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. You can find us live there. Text number, you can text us in. It's 877-377-6963. Got a text in here on our Facebook stream from Scott Wiles. This team played much better than I would have ever dreamed. Yes, they still have some major issues to fix, but they played harder today than they ever did last season. It's time to get better next week.
Greg texts in. He's right about this, too. Now, he says 2 bad calls. I don't know. I mean, the Pittman calling timeout as Georgia misses a field goal. You know, I mean, that's not a bad call. That's just bad luck on when you called your timeout. There's dozens of coaches that would have done the same thing. You can't predict whether or not the kid's going to hit the field goal or not. So I don't know if I'd call that a bad call. That's just bad kismet. The other one, though, the trick play near the back of your own end zone. Yeah,
that was a head scratcher.
That was more than a head scratcher. I mean, a double flea flicker in your own end zone.
Can we put that in our Duma of the week?
That can be a nominee. I think that can be. And the other idea is I don't mind the trick play of Burks throwing the ball. I think that can work sometime, but that wasn't a moment that it was going to work. Traylon would have done a lot better not forcing that ball up and just throwing that puppy away. Like I know in that moment he wants to throw it to a receiver. So a wide receiver will force the ball trying to get it into another receiver, thinking my man's going to go make a play. Well, he didn't, because he couldn't. He tried to, but he couldn't. So that's on Burks. I don't know. Is it a bad call? Maybe, because you ended up turning the ball over. It was more a bad play by Burks than a bad call by Kendall Briles. The double flea flicker by the goal line, that's a bad call. That one didn't make much sense. But hey,
on any other part of the field, I'd have been fine with that. If you're at the 30 or the 40, completely fine with that call, because then you have more room for error for it, what just happened in there. But you don't do that inside your plus 20 or wherever they were, and then you end up getting the safety off of it.
I'm not the kind of person to act like an offensive coordinator and tell you what the guy should be calling. Yeah. But you can look at a call at a certain spot on the field and wonder, I don't know if that's the best idea. And obviously it didn't pay any dividends for anybody unless they were wearing orange. All right. 877-377-6963.
Got a text in
Wade says he's never seen so much determination in a long time. Despite a loss, he's very proud. He thinks wins will come this year.
Completely agree. See here, Dallas Schwartz on our YouTube page, he said, and we've mentioned this before, we don't like to use this term, but Hogs earned a moral victory in the first half.
No. We're not doing that.
But
you want to feel good about the loss, fine. Don't put the word victory in it.
But yeah, part of it's right, but I knew me and you like to get a kick out of moral victories.
We're not doing moral victories this year. It's not a thing. That was I don't know. That was like 10 or 11 years ago. That's not a thing any longer.
Hey, me and you did come through though on our halftime game day picks, and it was reminded in the 479 text in. We beat the spread. Arkansas did beat the spread technically. So
are you telling me it actually took 54 minutes for the first beat the spread text? This is the first one, and you know the phrase. Ty was the one who taught me this. Good coaches win. Great coaches cover.
You got that right.
Sam Pittman covers in his debut as an Arkansas football coach.
He's a keeper.
I'm sure he doesn't care about that, but there's thousands of Razorback fans that certainly do. And we will step aside. We'll come back, joined by Derek Ruskin of Ruskin and Zach, which you hear Mondays through Fridays here on this very same radio station. We'll take your calls and texts as well. The number's 877-377-6963 as we react to Georgia 37 and Arkansas 10. Hog Reaction back after this.
This is Hog Football Reaction. Streaming live now from hitthatline.com.
While you can't believe everything on social media these days, you can believe it's possible to start a new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months from the comfort of your own home, even if you have zero computer experience. Instead of waiting to see what happens when life gets back to normal, take control of your future now. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. Live online classes meet just twice a week. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
I'm not a big talker. I am a big doer. But sometimes the only way to solve the problem is to get on the horn and figure it out. So the only people I like talking to? Grainger. With knowledgeable product experts, ready with the answers to my toughest questions, calling Grainger is the one conversation I don't mind having. From machining and motor parts to valves and vacuum pumps. When it comes to solving my problems, Grainger's got my back. Call, click Grainger.com, or stop by to see for yourself. Grainger. For the ones who get it done.
Up to $3,000 off and 0% financing at Harry Robinson Salisal Ford on the 2020 Ford Fusions. You'll find it right now. Jeremy's back with me. Jeremy, great time to save $3,000 up front and get the long-term financing at 0%.
Absolutely, Tommy. People are taking advantage of this 0% right now, and guys, hurry down before the end of the month. These cars are moving fast.
Troy, the Fusion has become one of the more popular models, not just because of price, but because it's a great, affordable car to drive around.
Hey, it definitely is. You're talking about money off and 0%. Hey, that's less than $300 a month with approved credit. I mean, you're talking about a brand new car, no maintenance for the next 2 years. I mean, full-size sedan, almost 40 miles to the gallon in gas, and less than $300 a month. So you can't beat that.
And Jeremy, this is a 2020 Ford Fusion.
Absolutely. 2020s have to go. We're running out of these cars with these incentives and these rebates. You need to hurry down.
All right, it's all at Harry Robinson Salisal Ford, 1 mile south of exit 308 off I-40 in Salisal, Oklahoma.
Whole Hog Cafe in Fort Smith wants you to know dine-in service is now open, recognizing all state and CDC guidelines. Takeout and delivery service remains available as well. Whole Hog Cafe Fort Smith is also, until further notice, open Tuesday through Saturday from 11 a.m. till 6 p.m. The Whole Hog Cafe on Borough Road also has a drive-thru for your convenience. Call Whole Hog Cafe on Phoenix Avenue or Borough Road, or order online at wholehogfortsmith.com for your award-winning Memphis-style barbecue and sides.
Are you looking for a new place to call home? Whether you're looking for an apartment, duplex, townhome, or a house, Trinity Multifamily has you covered. They even have options in surrounding states, from Texas to Michigan and Kansas to Tennessee. If you're looking for a new place to call home, make Trinity Multifamily your first call at 479-452-1817. That's 479-452-1817. Or online at trinitymultifamily.com to search rental properties near you.
Hi, this is Melissa with True Grit Running Company. It's a difficult time right now, and social distancing is vitally important. That's why I'm here to encourage you to keep running. It's a great way to exercise in solitude, build up your immune system, and keep from going stir-crazy. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram for more tips on how to take care of yourself during this time. And remember, just keep running. This has been brought to you by True Grit Running Company, 6808 Rogers Avenue, Suite B, behind Chick-fil-A.
Are you ready to take the next step? Want to make real money? How about averaging $2,800 per week? United Welding Institute is accepting new students to shape into high-paid career welders. Graduates of United Welding Institute find great-paying jobs in the oil field, power plants, refineries, pipelines, and more. United Welding Institute in Pottsville, Arkansas has been training professional field-tested welders since 2013. Change your life and call 479-968-3390 or visit UnitedWeldingInstitute.com.
Do you have sleep apnea? Are you tired of dealing with a CPAP every night? The noise, the constant cleaning, your wife telling you she can't take the noise anymore. Dr. Bo Sparkman at Family Dental Care of Fort Smith can help you with sleep apnea with a custom dental appliance that allows you to get rid of that annoying CPAP. Dr. Sparkman has years of experience and has treated hundreds of patients just like you. Call for your appointment today, 785-1419. That's 785-1419. Get rid of your CPAP with Family Dental Care of Fort Smith.
Hey, this is Ted with Ed Walker's Drive-In. For more than 70 years, Ed Walker's has been the place to go for the best French dips and hand-patted hamburgers in town. Blue Plate Specials served Monday through Friday, and we're still the home of Fort Smith's only 5-pound hamburger. We're open 10 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week. Call ahead for pickup, 783-3352. Ed Walker's Drive-In, 1500 Towson Avenue in Fort Smith, where the legend lives on.
KERX, Paris, Fort Smith.
2 seconds, 1 second, he lets fly with a shot.
From the Bushlight Studios, this is ESPN 95.3.
Live on Hog Reaction. This is Phil Elson. We're with Matt Smackdown Jenkins. We are reacting to Arkansas losing 37-10 against the Georgia Bulldogs in the first game of the season here on September the 26th. Isn't that a little bit weird to say? Let's bring on Derek Ruskin, co-host of Ruskin and Zach, which you hear every day on these very airwaves from 3 to 6. Derek, first of all, how'd the Zoom deal go today? Did you guys get that thing going?
We did it for 3 quarters, and we learned a lot. Jessica swore a lot, which was to be expected, and overall it went pretty okay, I guess.
Okay, pretty okay.
I haven't heard that phrase before.
I would tell you what, that's a fairly good description of the game. Pretty okay, because I mean it's like everybody wants to feel good about the defense right now. You still lost by 27 points. I think there are some good things about this game. I'm not going to go with the moral victory. There is no such thing. So what are you taking away from this game?
Well, obviously they didn't allow Georgia to run the ball. That's good. That is encouraging. This always seems to be the way it works, because Thursday I didn't have nice things to say about the linebackers, and I thought Grant Morgan and Bumper Poole played pretty well today. So that went well. Here's where I have a hard time, because it was so great to watch a football game today and to hear the crowd and everything. So I don't know when I'm allowed to complain about the fact that there were 16 punts in this football game, which was not that spectacular to watch. But, there's some things there that are interesting. Contrary to what came out of pro-Arkansas media, I don't think Scott Fountain is a genius, the special teams coach. And Felipe Franks was up and down, which has kind of been what he has been. He had some throws that took your breath away, and then he had a couple of moments where you wanted to pull your hair out. So it was a mixed bag. I've never seen a game that was 7-5 at halftime. And then there
That's
were
one of two
games.
SEC games today, by the way, that were 7-5 at halftime.
And we got another 5 right now, too.
Oh, gosh.
It's just that kind of sums up the year, I suppose, right there. But there's some stuff in there to build on, and that's the thing. Like, everyone gets hung up on this moral victory thing. I mean, what are you supposed to do? Ignore the things that went well in a game? I'm not quite sure what people want out of that. So there's some things that they can build on for there. And I didn't like a lot of the pre-snap penalties, but anybody that knows anything about football knows that if you've got good coaches, and we believe that they do, that usually gets cleaned up between game 1 and game 2. So I think they got to clean some of that false start and illegal formation stuff up pre-snap too next week.
Your linebackers definitely did play well. Morgan and Poole everywhere, combining for 24 tackles, 9 of them solo. I was impressed with Jalen Catalon more often than not. Looks like somebody that goes after the ball, creates the first forced fumble of the year for the Razorbacks. I think Zach Williams looks like somebody to build upon. He was a bit of a disruptor. Same with Dorian Gerald. But look, this is also, and you make a really good point. Like, Scott Fountain has a great reputation as a special teams coach, but he also doesn't wear a uniform and go out and play. So, and you can't win too many games if you allow a punt block within the shadow of your own end zone. If your starting field position is consistently your own 19, if you can't get anything going in the running game, and if you end up with too many, like you're saying, pre-snap penalties, including one on what was going to be a field goal attempt that was makeable, that was changed into a punt.
Yeah, and my fear is we're going to see this script in a lot of games this year, where Arkansas competes, has good plan, pretty good execution, but they just aren't in a position roster-wise to finish off games against opponents like this right now. So they're going to hang around for a while, and who knows? So if another team that they should be, that will be a betting favorite against them makes a bunch of mistakes, maybe they hang around long enough and they can take one of these wins. But I feel like today is what we may see a few more times this year, in that great fight, great spirit, good plan, and hang around, but they just don't quite have enough right now to finish off a game like today.
So you also mentioned Franks, and I think you're right about the idea that this was the same Felipe Franks that you saw at Florida, but there's not that depth of talent to be able to buoy the team from those mistakes. The guy's got a rocket. I think that bomb to Burks might have been the best throw we've seen a quarterback make here in 2 years. But, yeah, there were head-scratchers, definite head-scratchers. But I think he's an upgrade. I think. It's just one game. Maybe it's more hoping that he's an upgrade, but I also don't think that this is a team that can overcome too many mistakes by a quarterback like we saw today.
Yeah, and another thing that's difficult for me today, guys, is how do you judge how well he was protected? Because who's going to be able to run on that Georgia front? Mm-hmm. Nobody. Exactly. And who's going to have, who's going to be able to protect their quarterback for a long time against those guys? I mean, those are somebody last year, I think, called them creatures. It's just it's so difficult to get a read on that. Maybe we'll see. I'll get a little bit better idea on that part of protecting Felipe Franks next week against Mississippi State. But yeah, I mean, this is what he has been. It's some moments where you're just, you're standing up and you're excited, and then it's just, why would you throw it to that guy? It's kind of a mixed bag. But I totally agree with you, Phil, that he is much better than anything that's come out on that field at quarterback in a really long time, maybe since an Allen played here.
Hey, Matt, one thing before you ask Derek this,
Yeah.
I just realized as we're talking about special teams, so we have a place kicker that apparently likes to go make tackles, but you don't want the place kicker making 2 solo tackles in a game. I mean, because each time that was on a 44 or 45-yard kickoff return. But there's one aspect of special teams that you hope doesn't happen again. Let's not have Vito Calruso make 2 solo tackles anymore.
Yeah, the coverage was, you can talk about the block punt and everything, but the coverage, when they're starting drives, the 40, 45, 50-yard line, that's got to be something that changes, and that's part of the disappointment I think that people had in that particular phase was, well, wait a minute, Scott Fountain's supposed to fix all this. Well, in one game with a weird training camp like they had this year, maybe it's an indication that they need more personnel, and they definitely need to be able to spend more time on that phase of it, I think.
Speaking to Derek Ruskin here on the Hog Reaction post-game show of Ruskin and Zach. Derek, when you look at – I feel like we're kind of being negative. I mean, there was a lot of positives that I took from this game. What were some of those positives in your mind that really caught you by surprise that you really weren't expecting during this game?
I wanted to see because everyone was talking about the offense for weeks now. I wanted to see what the defense did, and I really liked what was going on out there for a lot of the game. They just, they ran out of gas at the end. They were on the field, forever. Georgia ran 89 plays. Mm-hmm. So, and that was encouraging. That was the best phase, I thought. They got Traylon Burks a touchdown, so we got that crossed off the list. That was good. Again, there's moments with Felipe Franks where it went really well. And, just overall, I thought the whole organization just looked like they knew what they were doing better than in the last 2 years, which probably doesn't come as a surprise to a lot of people considering who was in charge the last couple of years. But they, the overall thing, the organization, the structure, Pittman may get some heat for calling that timeout when the kid doinked the field goal before halftime. I didn't mind calling the 2 timeouts there. You roll the dice with that. You got him. So, try and put a little pressure on him. I didn't mind that as much. But, yeah, I mean, there were some things that went well there. But mainly for me, I liked what I saw at a Barry Odom defense today.
Greg and Fort Smith had this question. It's something that I wanted to ask you, too. Mississippi State, we've talked a lot about that, and it was a team that a lot of people in the media, including a lot of ourselves, thought that was a victory that you could go out and get, and then they go out and beat LSU by 10 and throw for 9,300 – I'm just kidding, but 600 yards of passing and 9 yards of rushing. So I don't know what to think of next week against Mississippi State, but looking ahead, Derek, what do you think about Arkansas versus Mississippi State next Saturday?
Going to be obviously a big-time test for this secondary. Costello looked incredible today, and to see that execution that was pretty much flawless. I mean, when you throw for 600 yards in the first game with everything that's going on for a transfer was really that really stood out to me, and I'm sure it stood out to a lot of people. Maybe Arkansas has a better chance of running the football against, you would think, a front that's not as good in Mississippi State as Georgia. So maybe that can open some things up if they can hit a few runs with Rakeem Boyd next week. But the big-time test for the secondary, and I thought the secondary looked pretty good today at times. So it's that's going to be an interesting matchup to watch next Saturday.
You think Georgia's got anything to worry about with the quarterback position right now? I mean, nobody talked about Stetson Bennett last weekend. I know Kirby Smart mentioned his name and their incoming true freshman, but nobody was talking about him. It was all about JT Daniels, and Dewan Mathis looked lost. I don't know if Daniels is ready to play or if that knee is cleared or anything. I mean, do you think Georgia's got to worry right now, seeing in their own division Kyle Trask thrown for 6 touchdowns, and Florida might be maybe a more complete team.
Yeah, they definitely are. That needs to be their top concern coming out of the game. I mean, they got to figure out that offense because, well, they got Auburn next week. So, and Auburn's got a pretty good defensive front as well that maybe can do some of the same things that Arkansas did in terms of limiting their rushing attack. I don't know why Bennett didn't start. I mean, you're right, Phil. Mathis just it was not happening there at all. I thought Bennett should have played the entire time. 2 touchdowns, no picks. He was really good. So maybe they did find the answer with him going forward. But yeah, that Florida machine that they're going to have to go up against there. That's a solid group, no doubt.
Well, it just really looked like, and I know that he didn't have everything to do with this. I forget how long of a stretch it was, but like 7 to 8 minute stretch, and with Georgia just basically won the game with 22 straight points. I mean, field position was part of it. The punt block, he had the pick 6, but he also steadied things. And it just seemed at that moment, the light snapped on for Georgia. Like they realized who they were at that point and, the sort of talent that they've got compared to Arkansas normally and in this game too. So, I hope that's not what you see this season, like you saw today, like a glimmer of hope for a half and then boom, 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 before you realize it. The outcome that everybody expected is right in front of you. I hope this isn't what we see week after week.
Yeah, it's just I really wonder about the depth. It's a building process here with Sam Pittman. The roster he inherited wasn't as bad as everybody thought it was, but they still have a ways to go to kind of get to the middle of the pack, I believe, in terms of talent in this conference. So I think there are going to be a couple games like this, but I also think they're going to pull out a game or two. I didn't see anything today to make me go off of a 2, maybe a 3 win. I don't know. These games are just so. The one thing I forgot about college football that I was reminded of today, all across the landscape, is just how wacky this game is. Yeah. Kansas State looks bad against Arkansas State for a while. They beat Oklahoma. I'll tell you what felt the most normal today, guys, is seeing Oklahoma's defense not be any good.
Yes.
And a 63-58 final score in a Big 12 football game. I mean, it felt like nothing's really changed in that
Normalcy
regard.
is back.
So I've got a great topic for all of us on our shows this upcoming week since Kansas State has beaten Oklahoma. Does that mean Arkansas State is better than Oklahoma? We get to have 5 days of fun with that.
You really want to open that can of worms?
I just did.
The old transitive property.
Yes, that's how everybody treats college football, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Derek, we'll let you go, man. Appreciate you calling in and giving us your thoughts. Looking forward to hearing you guys on Monday, Ruskin and Zach.
Thanks, Ruskin.
All right, thanks, guys.
You got it. And keep Jessica off of public airwaves, but on Zoom press conferences or Zoom game-watching things. All right, we are taking calls and texts up till 10 o'clock, 877-377-6963. Let's go to Big Mike in Waldron. Hey, Mike, I appreciate you holding as long as you did. How are you?
Oh, I like listening to Derek. And he said a lot of what I was going to say. I mean, the defense looked good, 3 yards a carry. I'm a KJ guy, and he's not going to get better sitting on the bench. And Franks, I mean, I didn't think he's that good in Florida. I don't think he's that good now. I think KJ ought to play. And we'll run the ball on Mississippi State, I'm pretty sure.
You're going early quarterback controversy here, Big Mike.
Yeah, I mean, when I see KJ come in the game last year, you could just see everybody was excited to see him in the stinking game. I mean, the offensive linemen did better than everything else, which they did better today. I mean, to me, Jagger didn't think so much, but I thought they were a little bit better. I mean, you can't run on Georgia. Nobody runs on Georgia. But I thought, it looked better even though the score stunk. Things just got away from them.
Yeah.
That's about all I got.
I appreciate the call,
thanks for
Big
the big
Mike, and
call.
I think he puts it in a way that a lot of people have to feel right now. Like, you saw things that if you didn't know what the score was, you were to be they look like they at least are more physical. They seem to be tougher. You're not getting pushed back on the line of scrimmage as much as you saw in the last few years. But then you look at the scoreboard and you're like, all right, so this is a 27-point loss. Like, that's still a blowout. 27-point loss in college football for me is a blowout. Yes, it's a cover, but it's just still a blowout loss. So, I mean, yes, you have to take it both ways here. I think there's things to feel good about this non-moral victory loss. But these take into account, too, like, you feel good about a game that you lost by 27 points. That tells you where Arkansas is compared to the elite teams in the SEC. I mean, how many different reminders do you need of all of that? The idea that you feel good about a 27-point loss is one of them. And you have reason to feel good. I'm not telling you not to.
Because how many 27-point losses did we have last year? Seems like everything was plus 27 last year.
I only have 10 fingers for the last couple of years, SmackDown. So I don't know. I don't know if I want to go that far.
And and we've had a couple people text in. It's like we need to be more positive. And there were a lot of positives that you could take from this game in my mind. Defensively was one of them, and you saw some players have some bright spots. Felipe Franks had some bright spots as well. And there's definitely some positives, a lot more negatives that come in a loss. And I mean, that's our job to analyze them and bring them to light, and hopefully that the team will be able to correct those and get those ready to go for next week against Mississippi State.
Well, we got a 479 text that's really fired up about Arkansas State's win over OU because his former roommate was an OU guy who was obnoxious. So I know one of our regular listeners, Brett from Spiro, is probably.
Where is Brett? We hadn't heard from Brett yet.
He's probably crying under a pillow right now.
So I had a friend of mine. She's a big Oklahoma fan, and I was texting her. I texted her first like Boomer Sooner, just being supportive when they were up and winning. Texted her later. I said, "What the heck is happening?" And she said, "OU is happening. I've had to watch this crap my whole life." And I said, "Well, at least you haven't been watching Razorback football for the past 3 years, so I don't want to hear from her."
Yeah, but I mean, that's where you are. You're at a point where the program's been beaten down so much in 3 years with a 20th consecutive SEC loss that you still have reason to feel good about this loss.
Absolutely.
There are blocks to build upon from this loss. And isn't that an amazing thing to think about here? And on a day where you usually would just be thankful that you had college football on your television anyway, that your Razorbacks were playing, and you had a reason to stand up and cheer.
Yeah.
And so we have many reasons to be happy in a day where you lost by 27. 877-377-6963. Calls and texts up till 10 o'clock. We'll step aside for a quick break and right back after this on Hog Reaction.
This is Hog Football Reaction. Streaming live now from hitthatline.com.
At CDW, we get that an unsecured laptop can put your company's data at risk, making you a little paranoid.
I'm not paranoid. You're paranoid.
CDW can implement a secure mobility solution using the HP EliteBook with Intel 8th generation processors and SureView privacy to protect your screen from prying eyes.
Did you follow me here?
IT orchestration by CDW. People who get it. Find out more at cdw.com/HP security.
What was that?
It's a new season. And at Sport Clips Haircuts, all of our stylists are clean certified and guy smart. So come in and get yourself back in the game with our legendary MVP experience. It's a mancation with our hot steam towel, relaxing shampoo, and a winning cut. Check in online and walk out with confidence. Sport Clips. It's good to be a guy.
And you be stepping out like a pro.
The biggest selection, the best prices, and more for your trade at Harry Robinson's Salisol Ford. Up to $12,000 off on 2020 Ford F-150s. And there's 40 to choose from. 2020 Ford Fusion, $1,000 rebate plus 0% for 72 months. And 2020 Ford Escape, $4,500 off or 0 for 60 months. The biggest selection, the best prices, and more for your trade. Harry Robinson's Salisol Ford, 1 mile south of exit 308 off I-40 in Salisol.
In the mood for a top-shelf night, 906 Cocktail and Cigar Lounge has your number. Sit back, relax, and enjoy select wines, top-shelf spirits, and handcrafted cocktails in a rich, comfortable, sanitized setting with state-of-the-art air filtration. Indulge in one of their delicious appetizers, sandwiches, salads, or specialty items for carry-out or dine-in. Open Tuesday through Saturday. Stop by 906 Garrison Avenue in Fort Smith. 906 Garrison in Fort Smith. 906 Cocktail and Cigar Lounge, defining nightlife in downtown Fort Smith.
Winter is just around the corner. At AOG, we realize some customers are facing new challenges because of the pandemic. We're here to help. Our customer service team can offer you a wide array of payment options or direct you to utility payment assistance agencies in your area for help. Please call us at 1-800-842-5690 or visit AOGC.com. Thank you for being a valued AOG customer. We're all in this together.
Hertz Car Sales has been serving the River Valley for over 40 years and takes pride in offering exceptional service. Whether you're looking for a car, truck, crossover, or SUV, Hertz offers a big selection of the most popular brands. They're friendly, offer a no-pressure car shopping experience, and their vehicles are high quality and priced competitively. New inventory is arriving daily and trade-ins are always welcome. So make the short drive to 2810 Midland Boulevard, give them a call at 783-1722, or check out their line of quality pre-owned vehicles at buyfromhertz.com.
Are you ready to take the next step? Want to make real money? How about averaging $2,800 per week? United Welding Institute is accepting new students to shape into high-paid career welders. Graduates of United Welding Institute find great-paying jobs in the oil field, power plants, refineries, pipelines, and more. United Welding Institute in Pottsville, Arkansas has been training professional field-tested welders since 2013. Change your life and call 479-968-3390 or visit UnitedWeldingInstitute.com.
Hey, Ty Richardson for A Cut Above Lawn and Landscaping. They service commercial and residential lawns for weed management and fertilization for a lush, healthy lawn. Need bush hogging? They do that too. A Cut Above can make that driveway and fence look brand new with a good power washing. You don't have to put up with those unwanted pests either. Call today and get started with the flea, tick, and mosquito treatment to start enjoying the outdoors again. More than just a mowing service. They're A Cut Above. Call or text today at 479-719-5605. Lawn, landscaping, power washing, stump grinding, leaf removal, mulching, flea, tick, and mosquito control. 719-5605.
Business owners, if your carpets and floors show the effects of too much foot traffic, call the professionals at your local Service Master Clean. Whether it's janitorial cleaning or specialty cleaning to eliminate dirt and grime from carpet, hardwood, tile, and laminate floors, no job is too big or too small. Service Master Clean has been an industry leader for more than 60 years. Call your local Service Master Clean, 479-646-4087. That's 646-4087 or ServiceMasterPC.com.
Did you know that you can get your car serviced or repaired without ever leaving your house? All you have to do is call Jody's Auto Service Center at 479-649-3399. Jody's will pick up your vehicle, service or repair it for you, and return it fully disinfected to your driveway. Pickup and delivery is free for jobs $75 or more. Jobs less than $75 can be picked up and returned for a $10 fee. Let Jody's Auto Service Centers handle all your service and vehicle repair needs. Call 479-649-3399. Jody's Auto Service Center.
ESPN 95.3. You're listening to Hog Reaction. Our special Razorback postgame coverage is presented by Bud Light.
Phil Elson with you here on ESPN Arkansas and ESPN 99.5 Northwest Arkansas, along with my buddy Matt Smackdown Jenkins.
I don't think there's a better way for people to spend their evenings than listening to me and you.
You want to move the Daily Show halftime from 11 to 1 until why don't we do a nighttime show?
Hey, that's fine. Halftime at night. We'll have to think of a new creative name.
We'd have to call it postgame at that point.
There you go.
The number to get with us here today is 877-377-6963. See, we get some texts in here. Derek's right. Actually, I have a decent roster. Greg from Fort Smith says that. I don't know how deep the roster is. I think it's a better roster talent-wise than you've seen over the past 2 years.
Well, I don't know. I don't know about talent-wise, just because this is a lot of the same players that you had last year. But I think the big difference, and I think you noticed that right off the bat, it's better coached. Barry Odom knows what the hell he's doing. And not that John Chavis didn't, but, I mean, Chavis had his pitfalls, and I'm sure Barry Odom will too. It's just what comes with anything. But these guys are more coached, and you could tell that they're playing fast, they're flying to the ball. Anytime there was open space, there was a guy there or a guy coming.
Well, and they tackled well. That's an upgrade
Absolutely.
from, I think, what you saw last year. There was, I think, a little more pressure on Georgia quarterbacks than we'd seen at times. They did have plenty of pocket time sometimes, but they did get 3 sacks. Forced Mathis out of the pocket quite a few times. It's one of the things about Bennett that was impressive was he was able to sidestep the rush occasionally and create some passing lanes. But look, this is an Arkansas team that would have gotten run over by the Georgia rushing game last season. Totally run over.
Yes.
And the Bulldogs tried their best to do the same thing to this year's Arkansas defense, and they couldn't do it.
I'll take a quick right turn. I'm looking at scores right now. Vanderbilt is driving, Phil. Under 8 minutes to go, they trailed Texas A&M 17-12. See here, Vandy has the ball at the 20-yard line of Texas A&M.
This has been an absolutely crazy day across college football.
Oh, my gosh.
It not?
You want to hit on some of the scores that we had across the league?
Well, let's get to these here. You do have the finals. The early game, Auburn took care of Kentucky 29-13.
I've never been a bigger Kentucky fan in my life.
So Chad Morris now knows what it's like to be a coach for a winning SEC team finally. Bo Nix, 233 yards in the air, 34 yards on the ground. And Kentucky Auburn able to pull away with 14 fourth-quarter points for a 16-point win. Florida puts up 51 points and beats Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss Rebels in Kiffin's debut as the Ole Miss head coach. 51-35, the final score. I still think you're going to see, when Arkansas and Ole Miss match up, Matt, that over-under better be in the 80s.
It very well could be. That's going to be a really good matchup, and kind of seeing how they played today, that might be a game that you might reverse course, where a lot of people thought Mississippi State was that game for Arkansas to get. Might be Ole Miss, but that'd be a high-scoring game for sure.
Matt Corral got the start as the quarterback for Ole Miss. 3 touchdowns and 1 interception, threw for 395 yards. But how about Kyle Trask? Second-year starter, 30 completions on 42 attempts for 416 yards and 6 touchdowns, including 4 to Florida tight end Kyle Pitts, who made 8 receptions, half of them for a score, and gained 170 yards. It's incredible. Mississippi State picks up the upset, 44-34 win for the Pirate in his SEC head coaching debut at defending national champion 6th-ranked LSU. And it's an historic day for KJ Costello, who sets the single-game SEC passing record by throwing for 623 yards on 60 attempts. He completed 36 of those passes, 5 touchdowns, picked a couple of times. And, Miles Brennan even had himself a halfway decent game with 345 yards and 3 touchdowns, though he did throw a couple of interceptions. So Mississippi State wins 44-34 over LSU.
Our pal Aaron Torres had this to say on Twitter talking about that game. And we brought this up on our show. Ty and Tommy did it on the Morning Rush. He tweeted this out right when it was 34-20 Mississippi State. But he said, turns out losing a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, 5 first-rounders, 14 NFL draft picks, your offensive and defensive coordinators, your best wide receiver in college football deciding to opt out. And he said it really does have an impact on the team's ability to repeat as national champs. I mean, I don't necessarily think that they should have lost that game, but that just proves to you how much talent LSU lost last year and how once-in-a-lifetime that team truly was.
Well, and also how important having a quarterback who knows what it's like to have that target on you.
Yes.
I think Georgia suffered from that today for certainly the first half. I don't think there's any doubt about that. All right, other scores. You mentioned Vanderbilt and Florida. I mean, this is the sort of game right now that you got to refresh the webpage if you're talking about it, because anything could happen at any moment. 8 minutes left. A&M leading 17-12, and Alabama pulled away early against Missouri with a 28-3 halftime lead, and the Crimson Tide up 38-13 on Mizzou. They're in the final moments of that ball game.
It just went final on my side. It's 38-19 is the final score in favor of Alabama.
Tight one in Columbia. Number 16, Tennessee, 30, and South Carolina, 24. Got about 9.5 minutes remaining in that one. It's being broadcast on the SEC Network. Other top 25 scores, third-ranked Oklahoma took the biggest upset of the weekend. Kansas State beats OU in Norman 38-35. Elsewhere outside the SEC, how about Texas and Texas Tech go to overtime, and the Longhorns win 63-56. Cincinnati beats number 22 Army 24-10. UCF, the 13th ranked team in the country, 51-28, a win at East Carolina. 15th ranked Oklahoma State defeats West Virginia for the 7th year in a row, 27-13. Number 19 Louisville, the Ragin' Cajuns, 20-18 victory over Georgia Southern. My Pitt Panthers, 21st ranked team in the country, beat number 24 Louisville 23-20, and number 7 Notre Dame was postponed earlier this week in what was supposed to be a visit to Wake Forest. Games in action. We got a couple games in action I'll get to. You got 12th ranked Miami ahead of Florida State 38-10. 4 minutes left in the third quarter. And number 20 Virginia Tech over North Carolina State 37-17. A minute left in the third.
I know you'll hate me for saying this, but I'm not as big on the Pitt history as you are, being from Pittsburgh and that area of Pennsylvania where you're from, but I enjoyed the Pitt uniforms. I thought it was a different look.
Hey, they looked fine. It was black. It was some black and gold, man. That always works there.
And I want to talk about this next week on halftime. Their turnover celebration with the slam dunk after a turnover was absolutely incredible.
No, we'll see how I'm able to handle that, because I've never been a fan of the sideline turnover celebrations, but that one's unique.
Yeah.
All right, we need to step aside for a break. We want your calls and texts up until 10 o'clock. The number's 877-377-6963. You're feeling good, although Arkansas has lost 20 straight SEC games. 37-10, Georgia wins it with 29 unanswered points. And we'll come back after this break and continue on Hog Reaction.
This is Hog Football Reaction. Streaming live now from hitthatline.com.
Randall Ford is excited to announce their state-of-the-art mobile service van, stocked with all the latest tools and technology needed to service your vehicle. Everything from oil changes, warranty repair, battery, software updates, brake jobs, and so much more. All is done with your convenience and safety in mind. We'll come to your office or home to provide professional service the Randall Ford way. Stop by today at Randall Ford, 5500 Rogers Avenue, or check us out online 24/7. RandallFord.com. Ford, the #1 selling brand in America.
While serving in Iraq, an IED took both my legs, but it didn't take my spirit.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there.
I'm Greg Gatson, Army veteran.
DAV helps veterans and their families get the benefits they've earned.
Today, I'm an entrepreneur, photographer, and public speaker.
With the right support, more veterans can reach victories, great and small.
My victory is just being the best that I can be.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Wave Rural Connect is bringing state-of-the-art fiber, internet, TV, and phone services right into your home. Get amazing fast fiber internet, 100 megabits for only $49.95 per month, or 1 gigabit for only $79.95 per month. TV packages from the basics to our amazing altered TV, starting at $32.95. Fiber phone services start at $29.95. Go to waveruralconnect.com to find out if we are installing in your area, or call 1-833-4-WAVE-RC. Arkansas Valley Electric Cooperative and Wave Rural Connect, changing the communities we serve.
When you want a beer, you go to a bar. When you want top shelf spirits, wines, handcrafted cocktails, and cigars in an atmosphere befitting a destination, you go to 906 Cocktail and Cigar Lounge. Try our new menu items, including fish and chips, classic club sandwiches, Caesar and Cobb salads, or stick to your favorites. Dine in or carry out. Enjoy our state-of-the-art air filtration system. 906 Cocktail and Cigar Lounge, defining nightlife in downtown Fort Smith. Doors open at 4 Tuesday through Saturday.
The biggest selection, the best prices, and more for your trade at Harry Robinson's Salisol Ford. Up to $12,000 off on 2020 Ford F-150s, and there's 40 to choose from. 2020 Ford Fusion, $1,000 rebate, plus 0% for 72 months. And 2020 Ford Escape, $4,500 off, or 0 for 60 months. The biggest selection, the best prices, and more for your trade. Harry Robinson's Salisol Ford, 1 mile south of exit 308 off I-40 in Salisol.
When you've escaped the screens and the sun bathes everything in a golden glow, and your friend hands you a cold, organic beer that tastes as perfect as nature itself. That's pure gold. Michelob Ultra Pure Gold, the first national USDA certified organic beer. Organic by nature. Enjoy responsibly. 2020 Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Pure Gold, St. Louis, Missouri.
Hertz Car Sales has been serving the River Valley for over 40 years and takes pride in offering exceptional service. Whether you're looking for a car, truck, crossover, or SUV, Hertz offers a big selection of the most popular brands. They're friendly, offer a no-pressure car shopping experience, and their vehicles are high quality and priced competitively. New inventory is arriving daily and trade-ins are always welcome. So make the short drive to 2810 Midland Boulevard, give them a call at 783-1722, or check out their line of quality pre-owned vehicles at buyfromhertz.com.
Dee's Family Restaurant of Alma at 39 Column Lane across from the water park is now reopened and ready to serve you. We're open 5:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week. Breakfast is served all day and our full menu is available at 10:30 a.m. All you can eat steak on Thursday night, cooked order prime rib on Friday night, and now we deliver on Waiter. Curbside and to-go is still available. Call ahead, 632-1014.
Hurry up, dude. The game's about to start.
Nothing beats spending the day watching the game with your buddies.
Dude, I'm literally right here. Let's do this.
Which is why a shelter insurance renter's policy is key to your winning game plan. It protects things your landlord's policy doesn't.
Dude, where's your TV? What? No way, dude.
Like that flat screen TV that just got stolen.
Ask Ted McAvoy in Van Buren or Jeff Clark in Fort Smith about Shelter's home insurance.
Hello, sports fans. I know you are ready for sports to return. Hi, this is Sherry Traylor with Floyd Traylor Honda, and we have been proud to be your local hometown dealer for over 43 years. Come out and see us at 3200 South Zero Street and see all of our models we have in stock. Or give us a call at 479-434-5975. And you can check out our full inventory online at trailerhonda.net. And remember to please buy local.
ESPN 95.3. You're listening to Hog Reaction. Our special Razorback postgame coverage is presented by Bud Light.
Phil Elson and Matt Jenkins with you here on Hog Reaction, presented by Bud Light. Hogs drop 137-10 to the Georgia Bulldogs, and the losing streak in the SEC continues. We're reminded that Georgia did give Arkansas 100 yards of penalties in the first half, Matt, and that's got to show how Georgia just was out of sorts in the first half. I think Arkansas's defense was a part of that, but I also think the crazy build-up to the season was part of it. I think the fact that they had a first-time starter at quarterback was part of it. But they were able to shake things together at halftime and do what I think a lot of people might have expected to happen, which is blow Arkansas. Maybe not cover, but 27-point victory in this sport of college football for me is a blowout. I will also say this. If you were to put last year's Arkansas team against this Georgia team, I think the final score would be something like 58-3.
Yeah,
so
I think
this Arkansas team put up a much better fight than 2019 would have.
I think a lot of the listeners would agree with you. And you could tell, or at least in my eyes, you could see that there was like a physicality, there was a want to, there was something in this team to they were giving it everything that they had. That's probably a product of Sam Pittman. That's a product of this coaching staff, and it's a product of wanting to be better. And you saw a lot of areas where this team was better. The scoreboard doesn't necessarily reflect that, and the better team won. They're the number 4. They're the fourth-ranked team in the country for a reason. You talked about the 100 yards and first-half penalties for Georgia. I believe they mentioned that 4 of the 5 on the Georgia offensive line they've been on the team, but they were new starters. So I mean, and they were working through the bugs of their own. It definitely showed there at the beginning, and they tightened up and they did what they were supposed to do in the second half. That's as simple as that, I think, in my mind.
Arkansas could not run the ball, though I don't know if many teams will be able to do that successfully against Georgia. 28 rushes for 77 yards. You did lose 14 yards on that flea flicker where T.J. Hammond's fumbled the ball in the end zone, so that was a pretty big play, but averaging 2.8 yards per rush. Then again, your defense allowed only 2.9 yards per rush. Traylon Burks had the 102 yards on 7 receptions, including the 49-yard touchdown throw from Felipe Franks. He was targeted 11 times. That's almost twice the amount of any other possible receiver for Arkansas. Rakeem Boyd was second on the team, though, with 4 catches, just 8 yards on those 4 catches. Mike Woods caught 3 balls for 40 yards. Traylon Smith, 3 catches for 13. Davion Warren caught it once for 28. Only 1 catch for a tight end today. Blake Kern, 1 for 9 yards. And this one you wonder about. Trey Knox only targeted 3 times and only ends up with 1 reception for 3 yards. I thought Knox was a pretty productive receiver as a freshman last season. He's going to need to be more involved in the passing game with his speed.
Yeah,
I think that's an important aspect of it. But at least it's obvious the focus is to get the ball to Traylon Burks as many times as you can.
Absolutely, and I don't know how much of stock you could put into. Yes, there was some questionable play calling. We've had a lot of people text in just talking about kind of some odd play calls from Kendall Browse, but field position didn't help. We've already mentioned that several times during this post-game show, where the Razorbacks were lined up, and the majority of the time it felt like inside their 15-yard line, and it limits your play calling. And that's one of the top 4 best defenses in the country, and it's probably the best defense in the SEC. So that's just part of it. And those throws will come. There'll be a lot more open throwing lanes because not every defense is going to be built like not every defense is going to be built like Georgia and have an NFL All-Pro defensive line. Where I think they mentioned at some point during the broadcast, DJ Shockley, I believe he said they have 13 capable linebackers that they can rotate in and out on that Georgia defense. So
how many linebackers does Arkansas have to rotate?
Exactly. That's the thing. That's the difference in Georgia and Arkansas. The time is coming for Arkansas, and I genuinely believe that. You saw glimpses of what this team could be in the future. And as Sam Pittman puts his recruiting footprint out there and moves forward, you're going to start to see this team turn around. And I genuinely believe that. I'm not trying to blow smoke or try to be the positive guy that I am. I genuinely think that this team will turn the stone. It's just going to take some time. It's going to take some growing pains, and I think you saw some growing pains today, but the team will be better moving forward because of it.
877-377-6963.
Got some great highlights in here if you want to play some of these too.
Yeah, why don't you play the highlight? I have not had a chance to hear Chuck's call of the touchdown to Traylon Burks, so let's hear that.
It is a beauty, my friend.
Burks comes in motion out of the pistol formation. Franks eludes the pressure, rolling left, got a man. Burks at the 20, Traylon to the 15, to the 10, to the 5, touchdown Arkansas! Traylon Burks, 49 yards, his first touchdown as a Razorback.
You could tell when that
ball
ball
was a perfectly thrown ball.
It really was. I mean, he threw it into the upper left shoulder. Nobody was else going to get it except the receiver. And kudos to Traylon Burks for staying in bounds because he almost stepped on that line, but he kept his foot in, and big touchdown. And when that happened, which a lot of us had talked about that. It was just like Arkansas would score first, but oh my God, was it therapeutic. It was incredible to watch.
It really was a great play. It was a great catch. That was the highlight of the game for I think for anybody that's an Arkansas fan. And you have to be confident of the thought that they are going to get the ball to Traylon Burks.
Absolutely. We'll play some others.
What else you got?
We got tons of it. And shout out to our boy Mason for getting all this ready to go for us here on the postgame show. Here's Dorian Gerald's 17-yard sack in the second quarter.
On third down, bad snap. Mathis retreats, gets the ball, and the Hawks dump him back outside the 40-yard line. They're going to spot it back at the 42. They lose 17 yards. Dorian Gerald defending for the Razorbacks, and Georgia blows it on 3rd and 4.
Yeah, I mean, there was one of those plays though where Georgia had a couple of bad snaps, and Trey Hill was their lone starter that started every game last year on the offensive line, their center. So I mean, there's a moment of a guy that's one of the top offensive linemen in the country, who the first game of the year had trouble snapping the ball.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, it is a crazy sport. You never know what's going to happen in college football week by week, especially week 1 of the COVID pandemic season.
Yeah, exactly. We'll play one more here, and I think this is one that the defense will hang their hat on. This is the 4th down stop in the 4th quarter.
White stays in at tailback. Bennett gives him the ball. White hit right at the line of scrimmage. It's going to depend on the spot. Arkansas says he didn't make it. It depends on where they put the ball down. Georgia looks like they've conceded. Arkansas holds, and they're going to get the football back.
It's a great defensive stop right there from that Razorback defense.
And one of those things that gives you some confidence going into the rest of the season. But now turn your focus on what you're facing this upcoming week. Mississippi State, now, full disclosure, I picked Arkansas to finish this year 3-10. Or 3-7, so sorry. Wins over Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and Missouri. I don't know, I might be changing that prediction about what will happen Saturday. I'm sorry, but I know Derek Stingley was out with an illness and might be the best defensive back in the country for LSU. But that is still a highly rated defense with a lot of talent that got shredded by a style of offense that I'm not quite sure if Arkansas is built to stop. Your secondary is going to have to come up huge this next weekend.
I think you're right. The secondary is going to have to come up huge and have a game where you don't allow them to throw for 600 yards and maybe you let them throw for 400 or something like that. You know what? Who we really need to see have a big game, and we've talked about it all the time, and it may seem like an obvious answer. Rakeem Boyd needs a big game next week. Well, and if you can almost try to keep that offense off the field, because maybe not necessarily it's going to be high scoring per se. I mean, they scored 44 points on LSU, but you don't need them throwing it all over the yard, because we've seen time and time again in past defenses, which is a completely different defense from what we've seen the past 2 or 3 years. Throwing the ball out in space and you man coverage, I mean, you're allowing for errors to happen. If you can run the football, Rakeem Boyd has a big day, and you can keep that offense on the field and control the time of possession, you got the opportunity to do something there.
Well, it's going to be a completely different game, a totally different style. Quarterback play is going to come up huge. Felipe Franks will have to make a few better decisions than we saw this last game. Like the first interception, which stopped Arkansas near midfield, that was on the quarterback. That was on a poor decision and a poorly thrown ball on the option read. Pulls it out of, I think it was Traylon Smith's midsection, and thought he saw, was it Hunter Henry over the middle open, and throws a terrible pass, and it just, obviously that was a bad decision and a poorly executed play. Felipe's going to have to, you're not going to have to make the 49-yard pass that you made to Burks every single game. Like, I do think that's the best throw we've seen an Arkansas quarterback make since Casey Dick was here.
Really? You're gonna go that? Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, well, maybe I'm going a little farther back than I should.
Ryan Mallett made some good throws.
No, I'm not thinking Casey Dick. I'm thinking Brandon Allen.
Okay, all right. Yeah. I was about to go, goodness gracious.
I'm thinking Brandon Allen, who made a lot of good throws. I shouldn't be going 10 or 11 years back.
We've had some good quarterbacks since then, but no, yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, since Brandon Allen, you might throw Austin Allen in there just for some good throws that he made, but you couldn't. And that was the thing that we've heard a lot of people talk about Felipe Franks, and I mean, when he's throws interceptions, they're like, really, why'd you do that? But when he's on and makes a throw like that to Traylon Burks, it was beautiful. That's a pro-style play quarterback. That's a pro quarterback throw.
Yeah, but this tells you what you're facing next week. Braley text, and Braley's right. Next week, you got to score every time you touch the ball.
Can't settle for field goals.
You can't have 9 punts. You can't have 8 3-and-outs on 16 possessions.
Absolutely.
There can't be too many empty possessions, because you wonder how many empty possessions Mississippi State is going to have against Arkansas when they match up. Is it a night game next week?
It is a 6:30 p.m. Kickoff next Saturday night. I believe, Phil, it's on the SEC network, if I'm not mistaken.
It's on the alternate channel, so I guess it's on whatever the other game is that they've got at that time, which is LSU Vanderbilt. So you'll be able to see it on the SEC alternate. Other games in the SEC next week will be South Carolina visiting Florida. Missouri goes to Tennessee. A&M and Alabama are your CBS afternoon game. Ole Miss and Kentucky. Auburn and Georgia might be the best game of the week. That'll be the night broadcast on ESPN. What about the thought of Athens maybe hosting game day? When you think about it, if they've got the ESPN telecast at night, LSU goes to Vandy, and then it's Arkansas and Mississippi State with a 6:30 kick. And we'll have all of our coverage that afternoon beginning at, let's see, I'm going to do my math here, 4:30 airtime. 2:30 will be the start of the Arkansas Game Day show. Sounds about right.
Sounds right. We'll iron all that out Monday morning, and we'll let you know on the Morning Rush with Ty and Tommy. And might be me and you doing the pregame show next Saturday. So we'll see. We'll see what that happens. Real quick, you brought up A&M. That game is now final. Texas A&M holds on and beats Vanderbilt 17-12. Real quick before we also wrap up here in about 5 minutes or so, Tennessee holding a 31-27 lead over South Carolina, 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And I believe that is the only other SEC game still in play right now. There's a few other nationwide games happening right now. Miami up 45-10 on Florida State. And I believe Virginia Tech up 37-17 on North Carolina State. And that's a quick look around the league.
Okay, so final thoughts here. Let's take a large perspective look at what happened in the game, and then pick the best thing you saw and the worst thing you saw. Grand perspective on this. Arkansas looks tougher, looks like a defense that can make tackles and should not get pushed around as often as we've seen in the previous 2 years. They still lost by 27 points. Had trouble being able to keep the ball on the field for any appreciable amount of time. Too many 3-and-outs, 9 punts, 8 3-and-outs. There were some nice plays made by Felipe Franks, but there's got to be better decisions made, and Arkansas has to make major improvements on special teams, specifically in covering kickoffs. And I don't know if what you can do about the performance of the Georgia punter, but they weren't able to return a single punt today. I think this is because that's the guy who's he's the Ray Guy Award winner as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
So that's my large perspective. What about you?
Good kudos to me. Probably the physicality, like you just mentioned. You saw this team. This team had a different feel about it. They had a different bravado, a different edge to them. Probably, to be specific, I love the front seven for the Razorbacks, particularly in the first half. The run defense was fantastic in the first half and just wore down the second half. That'll be something I think this team can build on, and then maybe make it their calling hat with their front seven. Like you said, Xavier Kelly and Jonathan Marshall took up a lot of room on that defensive line. So that's probably the kudos for me. The down for me, the special teams really caught me by surprise.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that I was expecting like A-plus special teams. Like not necessarily that, but you're still giving up 40, 50-yard kickoff returns. And just different and blown coverages like that. Granted, there wasn't anything returned for a touchdown, but it always allowed Georgia to get good field position. I think that'll be something that they correct this week. I'm not been out of shape offensively. Like you said, you went against the best defense in the SEC. You scored a couple times, and you showed some glimpses of what this offense could look like. But that's the best defense in the SEC for a reason. I'm not throwing any blame on Kendall Browse in that offense today.
All right, we got a couple minutes left here.
Let's go ahead and wrap it up. We're fixing it 9:55. We got to say another big thank you to our sponsors here on the Hog Reaction postgame show.
That's Bud Light. Thanks for presenting our Hog Reaction show. Best thing I saw today was the Felipe Franks pass to Traylon Burks.
Amen.
That was the best play of the game.
Yes, sir.
Worst thing you saw was the double flea flicker in your own end zone. And the best thing, honestly, was there was football played at Razorback Stadium today. There were people there to watch it. You might have been there. You might have been home. And although Arkansas lost, we can celebrate having football right now, can't we?
Got that right, Phil.
That's what we'll focus on this upcoming week on this very station. For my friend Matt Smackdown Jenkins, I'm Phil Elson. Get up, get out, and get better, and go Hogs.
Introducing Budweiser Zero. 0% alcohol, 0 grams of sugar. Full Budweiser flavor. For all the moments you want a beer and need to stay on your game. Budweiser Zero. 0 alcohol, 0 compromise.